Seems like more and more people on the channel are getting interested about the Dana 50 and 60s. This particular axle is a Dana 50, so if it's on a Super Duty, it's going to use a smaller track bar and the smaller internals. I've already taken this one apart and verified that my internals are good, the bearings look good, the ring gear and pinion look good, spider gears look good, even though I do have to pull all this out to put in new inner seals. Everything looks good there. Anyway, once you get them stripped down, I go ahead and paint them after I clean them up, strip them down, and check everything's all right. As you can see over here, axles on this one are trash. U-joints are broken. Stub shafts are trash. They're all grooved up, ruined. Seals are trashed. This is what you're commonly going to see on most of these F-250s is people have drove them into the ground. They'll let the seals go bad, and then after the seals go bad, they eat up this bearing in here. Like this one doesn't even have a bearing in it anymore. That's like that on both sides. Eats up the bearings in them, and they go to hell pretty quick. However, if you rebuild them right, they'll last forever. Knuckles, ball joints are all messed up. Matter of fact, I had to cut that one with a Sawzall because the U-joint had done smacked against the nut so many times that you couldn't get it off any other way. Anyway, these are all the parts you're going to need. The only thing that's not here is the wheel hubs and the seals that come on the wheel hubs. I guess we'll start with first. This is going to be your inner axle seal. I always get National or Ford or SKF. Just get a good quality one. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Ford. Just don't get a Master Pro or anything like that. They don't seal. This is going to be your dust cover seal. Most people negate to replace this seal, and then they wonder why their inner seal gets chewed up within 50,000 miles. Tried every U-joint under the sun: Precision, Moog, Duralast, Master Pro, SKF in fact, and I found that the only ones that last, that make it worth your while, are these Spicers. They're about $60 a joint, but they're worth it because they'll go 100,000 miles. Follow the instructions. Do not mix the caps up. Put them right back where you got them. It says do it in the instructions, and I fucked up one time and did it, mismatched the caps, and it went out in less than 50,000 miles. Your big inner seal, I'll show you guys a trick to install this without the OTC tool. Basically what you're going to do is when you have your axles completely tore down and the U-joint disassembled, you're just going to use the old hub to drive it on. Works great. Never had trouble with it. And these, you're probably thinking, if I have new hubs, why do I need this? Here's why. The stock Ford hubs, see how that bearing is caged in there? Yeah, it's a roller bearing that is caged so the needles don't fall out. Any Moog, Timken, Duralast, Precision hub, Master Pro hub, any hub like that you buy, SKF hub even, comes with a needle bearing. A non-caged needle bearing. Those do not work worth a piss. Less than 50,000 miles, the needles come loose and they tear up the shafts, like those over there. Spend the $6, get the bearing, drive the new one or the old one out, and put this one in there. Ball joints, it doesn't matter. I've used Moog, I've used the Master Pro, I've used the Duralast. Basically, it comes down to what you can afford. This one, my price was $6 a piece, and I've had decent luck on the Dana 60s and 50s with just the cheap ball joints. You grease them once in a while, they last forever. Your first thing that you're going to assemble, once of course you put your inner axle seals in, which I haven't done yet, is you're going to take these, you're going to drive on this external seal. While you have all this taken apart using the hub, you're just going to stick the stub shaft in there with the seal on it and tap it right in the middle of there with just a little sledgehammer or hammer or whatever. or press if you got it. I don't. And then you're going to assemble your U-joint. Then you're going to put on your dust seal, and that's going to be your axles assembled. Then of course you're going to have to do your knuckles. Just paint it if you want, or don't. I don't care. Push in your new ball joints. Put your knuckle on. Put your axle in. Put your wheel hub on, and I'll show you guys a trick with these knuckles. Let's see if we can see it. Might not be able to see it. Oh, yeah, you can. You can see it on this one. Might need to get some light on that. Don't know if you can see it or not. Anyway, this vacuum line, you can replace it with a grease fitting. Coincidentally enough, you see that tiny little orifice right by that machine surface? If you replace that with a grease fitting and all your seals are seated properly, you can actually pump this whole thing full of grease. Which, if you vacuum locker guys are watching this, don't do this if you have vacuum hub lockers. Your lockers won't work. I use manual lockers. I'm not so lazy I can't get out and lock hubs. So I'll go ahead and put a grease cert there, and as I'm assembling it before I put the hub locker on, I'll go ahead and pump it full of grease. And every now and then I'll just give it a couple pumps. Keeps that bearing, that little tiny bearing in there. The one over next to the ball joint that I showed you, that cage bearing, really helps extend the life of that bearing. Because when that bearing goes bad, all this goes to shit. The axle shaft drops down on the bearing after it's, completely destroyed itself, continues to destroy the hub bearing, then it's going to get the U-joint, and then it's going to get all the seals next to the U-joint. And if you're really unlucky like this axle was, it's going to get your inner seals too. Which is weird because the pinion, the bull gear, all the bearing for the carrier and everything on here, and the pinion bearings, tight as can be. The fluid looks new. And it's, one that's got over 200,000 miles on it. So it was taken care of, or scratch that, it was left alone. And it looks really good. However, the rest of this stuff is junk. Axles, junk. Wheel bearings, junk. All the seals, junk. And it gets there really fast. So when you're doing these, just make sure you go ahead, get the good parts, except for the ball joints. I found you can skimp on those. Grease it, build it, assemble it right. You won't have any trouble. I think the one that's actually underneath my F250 right now, 7.3, I've had on there for, I want to say 125,000 miles. And the only reason I'm pulling it now and replacing it with this is because I messed up. Got the truck stuck in, you pretty much call it a pond, I guess. And this hose was cracked. It let a bunch of water in. I didn't service it right away. Took out the carrier bearings, the pinion. I'll show you guys more in depth when we actually swap the axle, but yeah, it just destroyed it. Either way, that's a little bit on these Dana 50s and 60s. Let me know if you guys are interested in this kind of stuff or what have you.